Okay guys, we're back in the community garden and we are going to go through and do rejuvenation pruning on an assortment of shrubs here in the garden. So the first one I want to show you, this is Hypericum, if you remember St. John's wort. And look, this proves the principle, right? It stimulates, when you make a heading cut, it stimulates growth from directly behind the cut. Notice how there's not much going on here. It's all right at the end. So I want that growth to be lower. So I'm going to go through and I'm trying to find a node, but I'm not going to kill myself on time to get them. Trying to cut back to wherever I think there's a node. Sometimes I can see little green growth. Those are dead. Whoop. So I'm just going to go through and do this on the whole thing. Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing in the essence of time. I will finish it after the fact. That one's dead. A couple of those are dead. So now we're trying to stimulate, instead of stimulating the growth up here, we want it down here, so it's going to be fuller and bushier. Actually, now that I look at this, I'm going to take this one down a little bit more just because I wanted the growth to be down lower.
Why don't you just finish it?
All right, we'll just finish it.
You can see what it looks like.
That one's dead. So I'm going to take it as low as I can go if it's dead. That was dead. Did you hear it crack? That one's still alive. This big one, I'm going to start up high here. Remember, you can always go back and prune again. You can't glue it back on. I should be doing this with my hand pruning, it would be quicker. But I'm not going to switch now. Well, maybe I will. This would be better too, because from a cleanup standpoint, if I had a tarp behind me, right, we've talked about this, I can be pretty proficient. If I had a tarp, I would just throw them all right on the tarp. I'd pick up my tarp, I leave the site, I'm done, right? I'm out of here, and people that use shears are still cleaning up. Only got a few left back here. Again, I'm not being real picky with a shrub. Shrubs don't get big. I'm not worried about a little dead stub here or there like I would be with a tree. That's dead. So about the only thing I'd do to clean this up anymore would I'd go through dead, and I'd find more dead. And again, I can tell that because they're ash gray. They're real gray in color. Oh, one last little hair. We won't have that alfalfa sticking up. And then we could take us a few more of the small ones. Okay?
What about that alfalfa?
We got, oh, we got another alfalfa. There we go. Just come back and clean up a few more. And that's pretty much done. I know it doesn't look like much now, but if we come back in the summer, it'll look really good. All right, let's move down. So we're talking about shearing. We got this boxwood hedge. They've been pruning it formal ever since we put it in. And again, if you remember, the front side of the garden is supposed to be a theme. So we're going to stick with that. One thing I do want to point out though is if you are going to do formal, the bottom should be wider than the top. And it's almost already too late to do that on these plants. But the reason for that is so that, especially this is the south side, but on the north side, we want that slanted like a trapezoid so that the sun can get at it. Now, if we were really anal about this, gardens that have really formal gardens will go through and actually put string lines and run their string lines so they know that they're pruning everything perfectly across. I'm going to come down, so I'm going to take a little bit off on the top to try and get that trapezoid going, and then hopefully I'm not going to take anything off the bottom, so that the bottom comes out. Ooh. So this is a boxwood facillid. I don't know if you can see how the leaves are all curled up. There's actually a little insect inside of there that's sucking on juices and it causes the leaves to curl. This is becoming a more common problem now on boxwood. And since we've used so much of it, we're asking for it, right? There's all kinds of boxwood problems. We'll cover those in disease and insect. So all I'm trying to do now is get that slant going a little bit. And it's getting there. I don't want to cut too much, even though this hedge is still pretty healthy. If you look, there's still, look at all that green still in there. I could cut back quite a bit in there. So I'm not going to do the whole hedge, obviously. Again, I'm just doing a quickie, but we've got our flat top. We're starting our slope. We're going to have to work on this over the course of the next year or two, right? Come back and try to get this bottom, let it go, and keep the top back a little bit. Actually, now I'm going to, boy, there's a lot of that facility in there. Quite a bit. Okay, hopefully that's demonstrational enough. Next. So hopefully you can tell this is some kind of hydrangea. It's got exfoliating bark. This is actually an oak leaf. Oak leaves do bloom on last year's wood. They'll form terminal buds here that'll flower. You know, I could leave this, but man, it's just not a very nice looking oak leaf hydrangea. Oak leaf should be a lot fuller and a lot bushier. So I think I'm going to do a little rejuvenation on this as well. So this is going to kind of be the framework idea. I'm going to come back to a framework. So I'm cutting branches back, but not like as severely as I would have on the Hypericum. I'm trying to find outward facing buds. So again, you notice I'm not talking all the time about thinning and heading to a reduction to a lateral. Again, because in shrubs we do a lot of heading cuts in shrubs. Because I'm trying to get growth to come from behind the cut, right? That's what I'm trying to do. The trick is how far down do I want the growth to come? Do I want it to be up high or do I want it to be down low? Right now, obviously, most of it I'm doing is going to be up high, and I'll reevaluate when I'm done. I'll look at it and say, nope, I want to go farther back. This one looks dead. Yep. You can always tell when they're dead when you cut them, obviously. So I got two lateral buds right there. Dead, dead, dead. Get some of this. I'm going to take this back a little harder, a little harder. Now I've decided I'm going to go back harder on that. Dead, dead, dead. You can hear that. Where was that? I want to cut that off. The heels. Okay, so I'm going to take this a little lower. Look at that. Dead. Really cool bark, huh? Whoops. Set this down a little lower. It's still lopsided, and I'm assuming that's just because with the building over here, it doesn't get light until later in the day. But I can't do much about that. Of course. Dead, dead. Again, I would still go back through and do some cleanup on dead. I'm just going really quick. This is dead. I'm still trying to decide if I want to go back harder on this. Okay, still lopsided, but that's where I think I want it. See, now I'm evaluating. Wait a minute, I don't want the growth that far out. I want it farther back. Even this one, now I'm going to go back even farther, especially since it's lopsided. This one, I'm going to go back farther. Got to find a node. This is wacky. Okay. Good for now. I'd still take one more minute and go through it, but that's pretty good. All right, next. Man, all that again, I'm just going to demonstrate part here. Right? Most of these, many of these are dead, but this is Hydrangea, Barber Essence, smooth hydrangea. All these branches are dead. New growth is going to come from the ground. So I'm just going to cut literally. Particular. Matter of fact, if I'd have had my good Japanese shears, I might use those. Be quicker. Sometimes I do this with not necessarily hydrangea, but some other plants like. I missed one. Again, the other since coming low. Why leave all these dead stubs in here? It's all gonna bloom on new wood. Make it look better. Instead of this, right? If that would have been cut down lower last year, it still would have done its thing. See, that was starting to grow. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. Whoop, you can see the green phloem. Whoop. There we go. Okay, again, I would finish the whole thing. Time, essence of time. All right, over here. Not going to do that one at all. We'll go back up here to some Fothergilla, and then I think that might be it. So I mentioned these Fothergilla in a previous video. I'm really surprised here that they're not suckering more. Fothergilla typically will sucker in a sandy soil like this. It won't in clay, but it does in sand. It's just not growing much. I mean, it does have a few flower buds, but it's just not super healthy. So we're gonna, again, do rejuvenation. We're gonna do the staggering. Again, you can see the nodes because they're swollen. I'm trying to cut just above. That's weak. There's a node. I'm trying to follow my quarter inch above on a slant if I can, right? This plant is easy to do. That's all dead. So my hope now, right, is I'm gonna get growth from directly behind these cuts, but my real hope is that I'm gonna stimulate some sucker growth from down below, and that'll really fill the low parts, just because I don't want to go too much lower on that. I could do the same thing with this weigela. I'm going to switch around here. So weigela can get kind of ratty looking over after time. As you can tell here, a lot of people think it looks dead. It just doesn't look like much. So you can prove weigela pretty hard too. And this is a purple leaf variety, so the more new growth I have, the more purple it'll be, which is really nice. Again, I'm going to start. That one's crooked. I got a node. I got a node. And again, I'm pushing away some when I'm cutting some of these to make life a little easier if they're the big ones. The little ones cut pretty easy with a good pair of pruners. I'm going to cut sometimes when I have a lot of this junk, I'll just go and cut past it. Like this one, I should have just cut there. One cut instead of three and it's gone. Take that.
What happens if I prune it too much?
You can't really with a shrub. So remember guys, we talk about the roots right now have 100% of their energy, and it had 100% of its top, but I just cut bunch of the 60% of the top off. So all that photosynthetic food that's stored, the nutrients that are stored in the roots are now going to go to the top. Guys, you're not doing this every year, right? This is rejuvenation pruning. You do this when it starts getting ratty looking or unhealthy, or if it's a summer blooming shrub, it's not blooming well. This is not a regular thing that we do. About the only plant you could do that to would be like spirea maybe. But this will really... Now, that being said, there is always a chance that you could kill shrubs by doing this, but that would be if they were really old and really unhealthy, and they tried to start pushing the new growth, and they just realized that they didn't have the stored food and the vigor to do that. And so it kind of dead, kind of pushes them over the edge. That's all dead. That's all dead. That whole thing is dead, yeah. Just figured it out. Sometimes once you get your face in there, matter. So that was all dead, yep. And again, I can look at the end. If they're green, they're good. That one was brown, so it's dead. This is the other plant, so I'm not gonna, all right, here, I don't like that stubby thing. I'm gonna cut it back to the node before that, double check that it's alive. It is. So I got rid of all the dead. Yep. Okay, that would be proper on this one. And then let's walk. I don't think there's anything else I want to demonstrate. So we're good. All right, see you next time.